This is Ron Climer, and I'm doing this video for my classmates. And let me start by explaining my version of capitalization rate. Now, imagine, if you will, you got a letter in the mail from an attorney in Miami. And a letter from an attorney in Miami is rarely good news. Well, you open up the letter and sure enough, it's bad news. The letter starts out with, "We're sorry to tell you, but your Uncle Ned down here in Miami has passed away. He's no longer with us." And you think to yourself, Uncle Ned? I haven't seen Uncle Ned since I was 10 years old. Well, the letter goes on to say that apparently you were his favorite niece or nephew, and he has remembered you in his will. He has left you your choice of one or two things. One choice is $1 million cold hard cash. You can have $1 million cash from Uncle Ned's estate. And your other choice, and I want y'all to write this down, is a 20-unit apartment building in Miami. The apartment's rent for $1,000 per month. It tells you that in the letter. The apartments have about a 10% vacancy ratio. Uncle Ned's owned the place for 20 years, and the letter goes on to say that traditionally it's run about 10% vacancy. Now, it also tells you in the letter that there's $60,000 per year in expenses. This is the taxes, the management fee to the realtor in Miami that manages the place, and all the stuff that goes with owning a property. Insurance, pool maintenance, etc., etc. So that's $60,000 a year. Well, here's your choices. You can have the $1 million, or you can have the apartment building in Miami. Now, if you took the $1 million, that's pretty simple to understand. You got $1 million, you're probably going to invest some of that money after you buy you a new Corvette and a couple other things. Well, in today's world, what could you invest it in? You could put it in the bank, get 1, maybe 2% interest. You could put it in the stock market, maybe make 5 or 6% return on your investment. But if you took the apartment building, let's take a look at the apartment building and see what you would get. All right, now I hope y'all wrote this down because I'm erasing it and it's gone forever. All right, but here's the deal. By the way, I told you my name is Ron Climer. I guess I'll move that in a minute. Well, let's see. You got 20 units that rent for $1,000 per month. That's $20,000 per month in income times 12 months. So that's $240,000 that potentially could come in the front door. Now, we have a thing called vacancy and collection, and that is, we know all that money's not going to come in the front door. The building's not going to be 100% occupied 100% of the time. That's a fantasy land. That's just not going to happen. So we know it's about 10%. 10% of $240,000 is $24,000. So that's $24,000 that's never coming in the front door. We know that's not going to come in the front door. So, by the way, I'm doing the arithmetic with my calculator. I want you to do it with your calculator. If I get to going too fast, hit pause. Now, $240,000 minus $24,000 is $216,000. And that's called the effective gross income. And you need to know this vocabulary because they use a different vocabulary on the test sometimes. So you need to know the vocabulary. Now, it tells us in the question, or in the letter, that the expenses are $60,000. Taxes, insurance, pool maintenance, management fee to the realtor is $60,000. So let's subtract that, minus $60,000, and that gives us $156,000 in net income. And by the way, if you stop and think about it, which one of these numbers is the most important to you? The net income. We don't really care about this, except that's how we get to this. Now, we have this formula. We have this formula to determine value. And the formula is, by the way, ronclimer@yahoo.com. That's my email address. And I'll write that down because I'll tell you in a minute why you're going to need that. But now, we got this formula. And the formula is, well, the memory peg for the formula is I over RV. I standing for income. What kind of income? Net income. R standing for the capitalization rate. And V standing for the value. Because here's the deal. You've got $1 million in your bank account. The bank is paying you 1% interest on that $1 million. Mr. Realtor suggests that you buy this 20-unit apartment building with it. By the way, so if you elect to take the apartment building instead of the $1 million, if you do that, you've essentially bought this apartment building for $1 million. So your value is $1 million. The income is $156,000. Can you think of anything that you can't buy with $156,000 a year in extra income that you can buy with $1 million? I can't. You want an airplane? You got $156,000 a year in income to buy one with. You want a Corvette, Ferrari, $156,000 a year, you can get yourself one. So anything you can buy with cash, you can buy with income. So we determine the value of the property by what's the capitalization rate. So this property, if you take the property, your value is $1 million. Your income is $156,000. Put that in the calculator. $156,000 divided by $1 million, and my calculator says that you're getting, well, my calculator says that number right there, 0.156. You move the decimal over 2 places, and that is 15.6% interest. And so your capitalization rate is 15.6%. I don't think Mr. Stockbroker is going to promise you that. I'm sure the bank's not going to promise you that. And that's what capitalization rate is. Now, by the way, just to clarify this further, let's imagine that you elect to take the apartment complex. And the $1 million goes to your cousin Leroy, and you've got the apartment complex. But a year from now, you decide you don't want that apartment building in Miami anymore. There have been a couple of problems down there, a little aggravation, somebody had a little kitchen fire, things happen, and I don't want that apartment complex in Miami. It's too much problems. So you call a broker down in Miami, a real estate broker, and you say, I got a 20-unit apartment building that nets $156,000 a year. What can I sell that building for? Well, Mr. Commercial Real Estate Broker in Miami, and by the way, this is the same all over the United States. They don't do this different in California than they do in North Carolina. It's the same everywhere. So Mr. Miami Broker says, well, you say it nets $156,000. By the way, this is called a pro forma statement or an operating statement. So he does an operating statement, determines that your information is accurate, and he uses the same memory peg you do Except he says, listen, down here in Miami, people will buy 20-unit apartment buildings such as yours if they can get a 10% capitalization rate. If they get a 10% capitalization rate, they're happy campers and they'll buy your place. So what does that make your place worth? Well, cover up the V in value, and the formula is value equals I over R. Now, he says people are happy with a 10% capitalization rate. By the way, how does Mr. Miami Broker know that? He's an expert. It's his job to know that sort of stuff. That changes from time to time, property to property sometimes, an old nasty aggravating property in a bad neighborhood, this number would probably need to be better. A good smooth running property, maybe a little lower, but Mr. Expert knows that number. So that number, for our purposes in this class, it's given in the question. So our income is still $156,000. So we take the $156,000 divided by 0.10, all right, $156,000 divided by 0.10, and my calculator says that that property is worth $1,560,000. So you list the property with Mr. Realtor down in Miami, and Mr. Realtor in Miami sells the property for $1.5 million. He earns a commission. You got more money than if you had taken the $1 million. And that's what capitalization rate is, and that's why people buy income property. They would rather have the income than the $1 million sitting in the bank or some other investment. So now, but don't forget, in class, we might be at, now by the way, this is as far as Mr. Appraiser goes. And the reason is, don't forget, in the definition of appraisal, Mr. Appraiser assumes Mr. Buyer is paying cash. It's part of the definition of value. So we assume he's paying cash, but in reality, you and I know that's not so. Person goes out and buys this property for, let's round it down, let's say they offer you $1,500,000. They offer you $1,500,000. They're going to put $500,000 down. Nope, let's change that. They offer you $1,500,000. That's the price. They're going to get an 80% loan. All right? 80% is $1,200,000. So they get a $1,200,000 loan. Now, when they get their $1,200,000 loan, the loan factor is $6.20 per thousand. So we're going to take their loan amount and divide it by $6.20. Man, I shouldn't use such big numbers. Oh, that's because I'm doing it wrong. Let me start over. We're going to take the $1,200,000. We're going to divide it by 1,000 because we know how much the loan cost per thousand. And so that, we're going to divide this by 1,000. And so that is 1,200 thousandths. It costs $6.20 per thousand to borrow the money. Times $6.20, and that comes to $7,440 a month payments, mortgage payments. So our hero's mortgage payments are going to be $7,440. Now, on a pro forma statement, we don't call it mortgage payments. We call it debt service. And we don't express it as a monthly figure, we express it as an annual figure. So $7,440 times 12 is $89,280 in annual debt service. So our guy down in Miami, he bought the property. He got a 10% capitalization rate. Y'all remember that? By the way, this is on the test, or I wouldn't be covering it in this video. He got a 10% capitalization rate if he had paid cash for the property. But he didn't pay cash for the property. He put 20% down. He put 20% down, and he got a loan for $1,200,000, and his payments were $89,280 per year. So if we subtract his mortgage payments, also called debt service, from his NOI, net operating income, that's going to give us his before tax cash flow. That's going to give us his before tax cash flow. And his before tax cash flow, all right, let's try it. $156,000 income, but we got to pay the bank $89,280 a year. So that leaves him with $66,720. $66,720 in his pocket after all the dust clears. Now, by the way, if he paid cash for the property, he's getting a 10% return on his investment. But he didn't pay cash for the property. He got a 80% loan, which means he put how much money down? Well, he paid $1,500,000 for the property. He got a loan for $1,200,000. So he put $300,000 down. Hold that thought. Now, I'm going to erase this because I only got a small little blackboard here. But I got to give y'all this little memory peg. You know, I used to teach classes in Daytona Beach, Florida. And I taught night classes, and night students, well, they're different than day students. But my night students in Daytona came up with a memory peg to remember this. And their memory peg was, perverts visit each and every night in Daytona Beach. Don't ask me why those Daytona Beach people came up with that. One of my other night students came up with pupils vomit each and every night during the breaks. I think they were referring to the severity of the course. But you got to have this memorized. And that's all it is, it's just memorization. Now, I'm going to erase it. Y'all remember, we got a $1,500,000 price. We got a $300,000 down payment. And our cash flow is $66,720, our before tax cash flow. All right, let me create some board space for myself. And let me just remind y'all of what you already know. I over RV. Value of the property, whoops, not the value of the property. Capitalization rate equals I over V. Our hero paid $1,500,000 for the property. He's getting $156,000 in income. That's a 15.6% capitalization rate. So he's getting a capitalization rate of 15.6%. Now, this is also on the test. Equity dividend rate. Equity dividend rate. Y'all remember what we call that out on the street? Cash on cash. We call that cash on cash. In fact, don't use this word out on the street. People think you just jumped out of a textbook. But on the street, they call it cash on cash. How much cash is Mr. Investor getting back for the cash Mr. Investor put in the deal? Well, still I over V, but Mr. Investor's investment is not the total price. It's just the down payment, which in this case was how much? $300,000. He put down $300,000. Now he's not getting $156,000 back. He's got to make the payments to the bank. He's only getting $66,720 back. So his return before tax cash flow, his before tax cash flow divided by his down payment is Mr. Investor's cash on cash return, which is, hold on, 66,720 times, 66,720 divided by $300,000. My calculator says that he's getting a 22, actually my calculator says 0.222. Decimals right here. You move the decimal over 2 places, that's a 22.2 cash on cash or equity dividend rate. By the way, this is not on the test, but just for your information. If the equity dividend rate is better than the capitalization rate, we call that positive leverage. If the equity dividend rate is worse than the capitalization rate, lower, don't buy that property. We call that negative leverage. That's not on the test, but this is on the test. All right, let's move on to something else. Let's move on to something else. And the something else that I want to move on to is computing interest. Interest over the life of the loan. And by the way, this is not advanced math, but it's advanced math if you don't know how to do it. If you borrow $10,000 at 10% interest for 10 years, and your payments are $132.15 per month, how much interest will you pay over the life of the loan? Well, you're paying $132.15 for how many months? 10 years times 12. 10 years times 12. So you're going to make 120 payments of $132.15. All right, let's try it. $132.15 you have made. And that is, whoops, $15,858 that's going to leave your pocket and go into the loan company's pocket. Now, how much did you borrow? $10,000. So if you subtract the principal from the principal and interest, that's going to give you $5,858. By the way, I better check myself using calculator. Yeah, 58. So that's how much interest you paid in 10 years. If that was 30 years, that would be 360 and so on. Let me do one more thing and we're going to end this video and go to another video, but that is interest over the life of the loan. Somewhat similar to that is what I call an amortization problem. You might call this, what's the balance of your mortgage after one payment? What's the balance of your mortgage after one payment? And I got some notes somewhere. Who knows where they are though. And well, I guess I'm just going to have to make up a question. Well, my assistant is telling me to end this video, and since I can't find the notes on this one, so let me do that. Let me remind y'all, I'm Ron Climer at yahoo.com. Reason I told you I want you to remember that when you go to the exam, if you would, just send me an email and let me know if you saw any of this stuff on your state exam or anything else that looks familiar. You know, the more you know, the more you know. So with that, let's adjourn. This is Ron Climer. I'm going to do another video. In fact, I'm going to do it right now in a few minutes. So I guess I'll just call this number 1 and the next one number 2.